We're going to learn a new pronoun today, but I wanted to do a little bit of a review of all the pronouns that you have learned so far. We've covered 4 demonstrative pronouns, is, hic, ille, and iste, and each can stand alone as a pronoun or act like an adjective and modify a noun or a pronoun. So that's why in your chart books when you'll see them in your charts, it'll say pronouns / adjectives. First one we learned was is, ia, id. It means he, she, it, or as we learned later, that as well. So the first sentence is vir gladium eus tenet. The man holds his. If you remember, we use eus because the subject is not doing the possessing. Remember, instead of meus aum, the man holds his, someone else's sword. So of course, eus means is the genitive, and it'll mean of his, right? The man holds someone else's sword, the sword of his. Next one is princeps ei terram dedit. The prince gives land to her or him. If ei is in the dative form, so to her or him, here it's his. And eas litteras ad me mittet. He will send these letters. So here it's eas is modifying litteras. It means, which one? Which letters? These letters. It answers that adjective question. So they're both in the accusative. He will send these letters to me. All right, hic, haec, hoc. The means this or these, and it's something near the speaker. So hoc malum opto, I choose this apple. Not that apple. That apple would be farther away from the speaker. This apple is near the speaker, and hoc modifies malum, the apple. And hunc scio, I know this man. Now remember, sometimes the word man or woman or thing is implied. It can stand alone as a pronoun. Here it's an adjective. Here it's a pronoun. It's working as a pronoun, and it stands for this man. Okay. Ille, illa, illud means that or those, and this time it's a little different because it is something at a distance from the speaker. So first sentence, vidistine illam pugnam. Did you see that battle? So that battle over there, right? In illam it works as an adjective here. That battle. It modifies and remember it's an adjective, gender, case, and number. So in the second one, ille homines saltabant. Those people were dancing. Now we don't actually have to have homines. We could put it in there and it means those people, but we could actually also take homines out and it would still mean those people. So sometimes remember they can act as a pronoun by themselves, and if it was just ille saltabant, it would act as a pronoun. If it's got homines in it, it acts as an adjective. All right, iste, stood, that or those, and it's usually negative. Ista non curo, I don't care for those things. Here is working as a pronoun, right? It's standing in place of a noun. It's not describing anything. It works as a pronoun. So iste frater, that brother of yours, because remember sometimes we can add an of yours in there for emphasis. That brother of yours will cheat, and here it's acting as an adjective because it's saying which brother. Well, that one, so it modifies frater. All right, so those are the demonstrative pronouns. We also learned an intensive pronoun called ipse, ipsa, ipsum. It means myself or ourselves, yourself or yourself, himself, herself, itself, themselves, the very or the actual. And it's used to emphasize a noun or a pronoun. And remember what it has in there? This is the one we just learned a few weeks ago. Self, right? Self, 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 selves, right? Or it can mean the very or the actual. So it translates with the suffix self or selves, but context clues determine which translation is the best choice, whether you're going to choose the very actual or you're going to choose one of the selves. And ipse declines just like the naughty 9 adjectives. So if you can remember how those decline, you can get this. So first sentence, ipse unum ex libris legi. I myself read one of his books. So here the myself makes better sense than the very or the actual. We wouldn't say I the actual or I the very read one of his books. This one, right here, ipsa, Pater ipsa pennem imperatoris habet. My father has the very pen. You could say the actual pen of the emperor. Either of that works. There, it does not make sense to say has the self pen, or it doesn't, you can't even put it in there. It doesn't even make any sense. So just pay attention to context and it'll tell you how to translate it into English. All right. Identical pronouns. All right. The identical pronoun, this is what we're getting into something new. The identical pronoun, idem, eadem, idem, idem means the same. It is the demonstrative pronoun, iste, id, which is why we went, so if you take a look here, iste, id, why we reviewed those pronouns this week, to show you that they're all related and it's relatively easy. So it has the suffix dem on it. And iste, id means that. Do you remember how you knew it first as, where did it go here? First one. You knew it first as he, she, it, and then at some point we added a that to it. That is why we added a that. It can also mean that, but here it means that. It doesn't mean he, she, it the same, right? It means that. So it translates literally as that same or that very. Okay. And then one thing to note, it's in your chart book. And if you look in your chart book, you're going to fill these out starting at page 48. So you're going to pause in just a minute and get these all down before you come to class. So important to note is when the form of iste, id ends in m, the m becomes an n before the dem. So let's look at a couple of examples. See, io stem mito. I am sending the same men, right? We wouldn't say, could you say the very men? I'm sending the very men. It sounds like an incomplete sentence, but I am sending the same men makes complete sense. And io stem is in the accusative, right? It still behaves like the accusative. De eadem rationi cogitabamus. Sorry. We were thinking about the same plan. You could say the very plan, right? Depending on context. We don't know the context. So, and remember, de takes the ablative. It's in a prepositional phrase. So here it is the ablative and here it is the accusative. So it can be used different ways. Pretty easy. Just that you have to understand. You're going to decide whether to translate it that same or that very. So it's called an identical pronoun because it's the same or the thing, right? Identical makes a lot of sense. All right, indefinite pronouns. Make sure you have your chart filled out. You're going to have this chart too, so you go ahead and pause at any point and get it filled out. So the indefinite pronoun quīdam, quaedam, quoddam, in English means a certain some word, right? Or some word. So think of it as meaning a particular thing or person. Not something, but some particular thing. So it declines in a similar manner to the relative pronoun qui, qui, quod. Do you see how it is there? Qui, qui, quod, that you already know. One thing to note is take a look here in the neuter singular, nominative and accusative is the pronoun, quīdam is the pronoun form, and I'll show you how that works. And quoddam is the adjective form, because remember all of these can act as adjectives or pronouns. So they can modify another word or they can stand alone as a pronoun. So again, when the form ends in m, the m changes to an n before the ending, and m is added. Okay, fill out your charts, and let's talk about the questions here. All right. So, the sentences here. Quaedam animalia me terent. So, here we go. Quaedam. Can you see it right here? It's feminine. It's neuter. It's neuter or feminine, but in this case, we're going to make it neuter. So, quaedam animalia. Some animals scare me. So we're talking about particular animals that scare you. And then Draco quibusdam inamica est. So here it's acting as, it's here, the first one, some animals, it's modifying, it's acting as an adjective. Here it's acting as a pronoun. Do you understand the difference? Because to certain people, all we have is the pronoun. We don't have, and remember, people can be understood as part of the implied. So here it's acting as a pronoun. The dragon is hostile to certain people. All right. All right. Quoddam nomen desiderit. She desired a certain reputation. So here I'm going to show you in the neuter how the forms change, because they don't always change. Here it's in the dative, right? Here it's in the dative. Here it's in the nominative. Here, these are both in, one's in the nominative. Well, actually, they both are in the accusative, but they're both neuter. So quoddam, this is the first one. Remember I said quoddam is an adjective. Quoddam nomen desiderit. Excuse me. She desired a certain reputation. What kind of reputation? A certain reputation. So it's an adjective. Remember, what kind, which one, how many. And the second one is acting as a pronoun. Quīdam in silva vidisti. You saw something in the forest. Thing is the pronoun that it's acting at. This is not the same as you saw something. I am saying you saw some particular thing in the forest. So there it's acting as a pronoun, so you have to have quīdam instead of quoddam. All right, in summary, in English, how to tell the difference between intensive, identical, and indefinite pronouns. Intensive pronouns have the suffix self. Identical pronouns use the phrase that same or that very. Indefinite pronouns, which we just covered, use the adjective certain or some. So when you're looking in English and trying to figure out which one to use, those will be the clue for you. And that's it.